Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Now let's get to your headlines. For the first time in 4 months, inflation in the U.S. cooled off. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index was 2.8% for the year-long period that ended in February. That's down from the 3% yearly rate reported in January. Economists say lower gas and grocery prices were major factors that helped bring down inflation. However, the developing trade war and the back and forth on tariffs against Canada and Mexico could cause prices to go back up. Developing right now, Duluth is preparing for a hit to tourism because of the ongoing trade war with Canada. The Chamber of Commerce there says thousands of visitors from Canada come to the city every year, and any tensions between the U.S. and Canada may lead to fewer visits.
This certainly isn't doing anything for us to get goodwill from the Canadians to come down and spend money in our economy. Anytime you put somebody into a defensive posture, especially in today's hyper-divisive political age, it just means there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction.
Right now, there's a 25% tariff on all aluminum and steel coming into the U.S., including from Canada and Europe. Canada announced its own retaliatory tariffs this afternoon on about $21 billion worth of U.S. goods. And the European Commission imposed counter tariffs on up to $28 billion worth of U.S. goods. So what do these tariffs on steel and aluminum mean for you? Well, U.S. businesses have to pay the tariffs when they import the metals. And according to the U.S. Commerce Department of Statistics, the U.S. imported more than $58 billion worth of aluminum and steel and iron last year. Economists predict that any new costs companies take on will be at least partially passed on to their customers. That means auto prices could go up, and home builders say tariffs have already shaken their industry. Prices also could rise for appliances, machinery, infrastructure, medical devices, power lines, beverage cans, and more. On the flip side, domestic steel and aluminum producers could benefit from the tariffs. U.S. companies might be willing to pay more for their metal in order to avoid that 25% tariff. Well, whether it was the equal opportunity seating, the free bags, the lack of change fees, or just the quirky flight attendants, Southwest Airlines has always been the people's airline. But new changes have customers wondering, where has the brand gone? Good question. Here's Ian Russell.
Flying can be a pain.
I'm going to Chicago, Illinois. I'm originally from Chicago.
As we rush to make our flights, we tend to lean towards our favorite airlines to make things easier.
Yes, super pro Southwest.
But if you ask Southwest passengers like Akia at Terminal 2 this morning, it might be time to switch.
Because there's no point in doing Southwest now. Like, I might as well just start looking into Delta again.
Those frustrations come from Southwest's changes to their baggage policy. Before, you got your first 2 bags checked for free. Coming in May, though, you got to pay for those.
I completely understand the no open seating. Cool. But charging for baggage? Why? Please, take it back.
Those open seating changes were announced last July. It's unclear exactly how much Southwest will charge to check bags, but it costs $35 on Delta, American, and United.
Do you have a second bag you can check?
Akia's bag was overweight today too, and would have cost her $150 if she didn't get that second bag.
Here's your card back.
Thank you.
She's frustrated, knowing had this happened once this change went into effect, she'd be paying even more.
Like, that's like someone's bill for like maybe a car note. A car note? I want to have like a car note bill when I'm traveling.
Southwest Airlines welcome to Minneapolis, St. Paul.
There's even signs at baggage claim talking about how much they love free bags.
I can't believe they actually did it.
It's a shock to customers and a shock to Kyle Potter.
It's kind of incredible that it came to this point.
The COO of Southwest spoke with CNBC about the changes, saying they, quote, need more revenue to cover our costs. Potter, who's the executive editor of Thrifty Traveler, says money is a part of it, but changes with investors has likely made the airline change its tune.
The reality is that there is an activist investor at Southwest who has been pushing them to do this and threatening, members of the board, threatening the CEO's job security in order to make this happen, and they finally got their way.
Southwest will also roll out a new basic fare option, and those with a preferred status, Rapid Rewards credit card from the airline, will still have 2 free checked bags, as will Business Select.
There's a running joke that airlines are just credit card companies that own planes, and I'm not sure it's a joke anymore. I think it's true.
Getting it right, miss?
Yeah, I was struggling. I'm sorry.
This change starts May 28th. Akia says that's not enough time.
But to just announce it and then just be like, oh yeah, we're just going to do that in a couple months. Sucks. Sucks.
Frustrated and upset, she says she'd even consider driving home to Chicago and paying the toll now instead of paying more.
Illinois, toll. I'm not going to lie. It's that serious. Yeah.
Just hoping the airline will change its mind.
It's only like a 6-hour drive, so.
At MSP, Ian Russell, KARE 11 News.
Developing right now, all eyes are on Moscow as Ukraine's leadership accepts a proposal brought on by the U.S. for a 30-day ceasefire in its war with Russia. With Ukraine's agreement to that deal, the U.S. began sharing intelligence again and sending weapons to the country. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says as soon as Russia agrees to the deal, the fighting will stop. Russia says it needs more information from the U.S., something the Trump administration says will happen either today or tomorrow. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been at the heart of the negotiations since they started.
Here's what we'd like the world to look like in a few days. Neither side is shooting at each other. Not rockets, not missiles, not bullets, nothing, not artillery. The shooting stops, the fighting stops, and the talking starts. That's what we want to see. What happens during that talking and how that evolves, I think we're going to have to be flexible and nimble and creative and patient and work hard at it and hopefully turn it into something that's concrete.
The ceasefire deal would not end the war. It does not lay out terms, define territorial concessions, NATO membership, or other security arrangements. But it could at least pause the fighting in this conflict that has killed and injured around 1 million people on both sides and open the door for negotiations. Happening right now, St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter is stepping in to help residents and businesses at the Alliance Bank Center in downtown St. Paul. The building is in the heart of downtown St. Paul near 5th and Roberts Streets, and today the power was set to be turned off. So not only would a closure force tenants out, it would also impact the Skyway system. Jessica Hart explains what's going on and why.
Inside the Alliance Bank Center,
all right, you want to do 2 pep?
Pino's Pizza has been the lunch spot.
So we've been here 37 years.
But not a year more.
So we knew it was coming, just not like that.
Pino Lapari got an unsigned letter from Alliance Center LLC, owned by Madison Equities, that they were closing the building and the utilities would be shut off.
There's people just freaking out here.
Bob Wolf owns Green Wolf Hemp and Organics.
For any of us to move in 48 hours, it's impossible.
He heard the rumors the building was shutting down and reached out to Madison Equities. A call a rep from the company returned today.
And I don't appreciate it a bit. None of us do. The whole building is up in arms right now.
Wolf isn't shocked. This is what it's come to.
The way this is being handled is exactly the problem to me. You know, I mean, let's have a little bit of respect.
Respect is all Petty Wap wanted
I ain't been
too.
open. This is my first day.
He planned to open his business Classic Kicks in June, but yesterday's news forced him to open his doors today.
They said we got 48 hours, so I'm doing a blowout sale. Everything must go.
St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter spent the morning talking with business owner, and he believes he has good news to share.
District Heating, Cooling, and Xcel Energy have both agreed to give us until the end of the month.
Wow.
So we don't have to have a fire drill to get everything out by tomorrow.
And that allows me to recoup some, because Madison wants nothing from us.
Developing right now, Eric and Lyle Menendez, who are serving life without parole for murdering their parents in 1996, will have a parole hearing this summer. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced this week the hearing will happen in June. Newsom says a group of psychologists will look at whether the brothers pose any risk to the public. When that report is ready, the governor's office will submit it to a judge who will consider for possible resentencing. Today, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, whose 10-day mission to space has turned into 9 months, are one step closer to coming home. NASA and SpaceX are preparing to launch a rocket to the International Space Station this evening. NBC's Tom Costello is at the Kennedy Space Center with the details.
Good day. So this is a big day, in fact, because NASA Crew 10 is going to lift off in a SpaceX Dragon capsule tonight for the International Space Station. It's a normal rotation, about a 6-month stay on station for these astronauts going up, but that allows Sonny and Butch to come back in their Crew 9 ship. By the way, that ship has been docked on the station since last September. So Sonny and Butch really haven't been stuck per se on the station. It's really been an extended stay, but they have had a ship to return home in the event of an emergency. But the bottom line here is they went up last June on what was supposed to be a 10-day test mission with their Boeing Starliner spaceship. But as you may recall, NASA didn't think that the Boeing Starliner ship was safe or safe enough to bring Butch and Sonny home. And so Starliner came home empty. Butch and Sonny stayed on the space station and have been there ever since. 9 months now. Again, it was originally a 10-day mission. Tonight, Crew 10 lifts off. They will eventually dock with the station. Those astronauts will board. They will take over for Sonny and Butch and the Crew 9 team. And then Crew 9 comes home as soon as Sunday or maybe into next week, depending on the weather conditions here on station. And what a homecoming it will be. Both Butch and Sonny say the hardest part of being on the station for so long, when they weren't planning on being there for so long, the hardest part has really been on their families at home. For example, Butch's daughter is a senior in high school, and he's missed much of her senior year. It'll be a big homecoming. Back to you.
Stay with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.